Hi, this is Maggie. I chose King Louis XIV as Virgo of the month. I'm going to be doing his astrology chart reading. Um, so King Louis XIV of France was born September 5th, 1638 at 11:13 a.m. It's the Gregorian calendar in Saint Germain, oh my French, Saint Germain en Laye, France. 11:04 Universal Time. And then it has sidereal time too at 10:11. So anyway, I'm just using the astro chart. This is Placidius, and it has very, very good rating, birth certificate in hand for this one. So King Louis XIV, his mom named him his mom, the sun god, not the sun god, the sun king, and he's also known as King Louis the Great. Um, so he's sun in Virgo, 12 degrees. His midheaven is very, very strong. He has the moon in Leo and moon Venus in Leo. That's very lavish, extravagant taste. You know, Leos have good taste and hearty appetites as it is. And they're very regal and, flamboyant, excuse me, and love to show. But moon Venus would be demonstrative and show that. Uh, just get some tea. So his ascendant is Scorpio. Excuse me. His ascendant is Scorpio. So he's Sun in Virgo, Scorpio ascendant, and moon conjunct Venus. They're like 5 and 3 degrees in Leo, up in the midheaven. So he has a very strong midheaven. His midheaven is Leo and Virgo. I look at both signs up there. Yeah, but it's 0 degrees Virgo. This is midheaven. So he was born to be king, to communicate. It's in his 10th house. So that's his work, his career, what he was born to do, to communicate through being a part of the monarchy. And that's also shown with his strong Leo presence in the midheaven. And his duties were put upon him at a very young age. I think he really had to go into action very young age. Anyway, his Scorpio ascendant is very, very passionate, intense. It's a fixed water sign. So he had very, very strong passions. He also has the opposite of Scorpio is Taurus. It's the opposition, fixed Taurus, and he has that in the 7th house of relationships, and he has Chiron, the wounded healer, in the 7th house. He did lose his mother died when he was 4, so that could be Chiron in the 7th house, and also Pluto in the 7th house of relationships. So his relationships and his passions were very, very, very strong. He also has Neptune sitting in his 1st house, um, giving him voracious appetites for everything. For everything. I mean, Scorpio goes to extremes, and they have dominant will of steel. Once they want something or they set their sights on it, they'll stop at nothing to get it. And at the same time, the 7th house Taurus, which is ruled by Venus, has very lavish tastes as well. So his extravagant spending, that would be Jupiter. He has Jupiter in Scorpio, 2 degrees in the 12th house. So it just expanded his joint assets, which he had, being a king. But he, being a monarchy unto himself, he didn't really realize, how he was affecting other people, which would be Pluto in the 12th house. It had No clue. No clue. Because Pluto is in conjunct Jupiter in the 12th house, which is probably what caused the French Revolution, is because that's like your blind side. So his lavish taste and extravagance ended up, maybe the extravagance. He didn't see that. He didn't see. He was so self-centered and self-absorbed that he didn't see or didn't care how it was affecting other people because Moon, Venus, and Leo, it's all about me, me, me. And especially being the king, it's all about you. And then everyone caters to you. He was groomed for the work at a very early, early age. So he also has his sun in conjunct Uranus in the 11th house in Libra. So again, that could be his lavish, lavish taste too. Um, both in relationships, friendships, art, um, building, the Palace of Versailles, and just endless building. So he left behind some beautiful, beautiful, beautiful buildings and legacy. But I'm just looking at his chart. So those are the most difficult aspects. Also, the Moon and Venus in Leo in the ninth house of um, Sagittarius. It's in fixed fire, Leo, and it's in Sagittarius house. So the King of France is, dealing with all kinds of foreign dignitaries, and should be fluent and scholarly in languages. He married a foreigner, um, or several, and so the opposite. They're opposed to Saturn in Aquarius, 0 degrees Aquarius in the third house of communication. So yeah, that could be losing his mother at a very young age. The emotional nurturing, I don't think he had it. Saturn kind of well, it can be separation, loss, hardship, and so his early childhood was probably not very nurturing. Although he has Moon Venus, there were other attendees to care for him, but not the nurturing love of a mother. Um, that's what I see with Saturn opposed the Moon. Um, so the second house of assets, he has Mars in Sagittarius. That's and the North Node as well is in the second house of Capricorn. So that's he's born into this kingdom. Um, he was born to be king. North Node, he was fated to be born to be king. Capricorn is the kingdom that he was born into, royalty, and it's the ruler of the 10th house. So he has trines to, from his Capricorn North Node to Sun Mercury in the 10th house. So his career and his assets and his lavish spending. The lavish spending, I think, would be his Jupiter, Jupiter in the 12th house of Scorpio. Just like Jupiter is so expansive and extravagant and just um, would never think it was going to run out of money. It's also the ruler of the 12th house. Both Jupiter and Neptune are rulers of the 12th house. So he has those pretty much almost right on his ascendant. Jupiter's 2 degrees Scorpio, and Neptune is 18 degrees Scorpio. So he is very dominant will. Fixed Scorpio and fixed Leo, that's his personality. So he didn't cross the king. He did not cross the king. Or uh, you would definitely hear about it off with your head. Uh, So Pluto, he has trining. Pluto's at 0 degrees, but it is in his seventh house of relationships. So he also has Gemini in the seventh house, the sign of communication with others. So as king, of course, you have to communicate with everyone. So I already talked about his in conjunct to Jupiter briefly. Um, so anyway, Pluto at 0 degrees in Taurus is trining Saturn, 0 degrees Capricorn. Pluto 0 degrees Gemini is trining uh, Saturn, 0 degrees Aquarius. Sorry about that. Yeah, it just means they're in the same element and they get along. That's a facet of your personality that gets along. Also, easy flowing, harmonious aspect. Pluto is sextiling because Pluto is in Gemini. It's right on the cusp. Frequently, royalty do have 0 degrees. But so with him, it's his 0 degrees Saturn and his 0 degrees Pluto. And it is sextiling the moon and Venus. So in relationships, he's the dominant one. He's the favored one. He's the sun king. You know, he lives up to his name. Um, yeah, and so, but Pluto in Gemini, uh, yeah, his word is law, and his I don't know the whole history. I'm kind of rusty on the history of the King of France, but I think he was known for his depravity, you know, which led to the downfall of the whole, you know, French Revolution. But the depravity and the voracious appetites and all the let's just call it depravity. I'm at a loss for words. Would be Pluto in the seventh house in conjunct Jupiter in Scorpio. So it just expand his voracious appetites for everything. You know, sex, money. He had money. I mean, just his lavish, uh, voracious appetites and self-centered rule. He didn't really have any motherly love, though, that has nothing to do with this chart, really. So that's the first thing that jumped out at me was Pluto in conjunct Jupiter. Uh, so yeah, North Node, born to be king. Mars gave him ambition and drive beyond. He wanted to build the greatest empire in the world, you know, for the Sun King, and he did. The Palace of Versailles is just beautiful. Uh, Saturn, 0 degrees, third house, Aquarius. That's his kingdom, you know, his relationships. He was the authority. Saturn is the authority. It's the ruler of Capricorn. So it is that's his home and his rule at the same time. Fourth house is Pisces. Fifth is Aries. Okay, we talked about his seventh house, and so dominantly he has very, very strong midheaven. Uranus is in Libra, in the 11th house of friendships, hopes and wishes, dreams. Um, so the people he surrounded himself with, you know, may have found him, or some of his friendships may have seemed strange and erratic, unusual, freedom loving. Um, but at the same time, he absolutely loved beauty and art. So that would be Libra 11th house. So he had groups, probably groups of people working for him to create beauty. Um, so Uranus would be liberation, you know, liberation, rebellion, little did he know that the people would rebel against him, um, because he was in his own world, his own his own Leo King world. Uh, yeah, so I wanted to talk about the square between the moon and Venus squaring Jupiter. So that also is his lavish, lavish taste. The king can do anything. The king can do no wrong. The king can do whatever he wants. And Moon Venus conjunction, that's love, generosity. He could be very generous too at times, I'm sure, for all his everyone in the palace, but not so much for the people that he ruled. But he probably never saw them or much less cared. Um, so anyway, Moon, Venus, and Leo are squaring Jupiter, and so that just challenges him even more to be expanding his joint assets and his luxury and his money and his travel and international joint assets. I don't know, conquering lands or whatever. Yeah, because Jupiter is the ruler of Pisces, and that is often foreign, foreign dignitaries. So I'm sure that he just entertained them with lavish, lavish style. But the depravity would come from Jupiter and Scorpio. That would just really enlarge his appetites and for everything, for addictions, for sex, for money, for uh, Scorpios are just very intense, determined, will of steel, passionate people, and to have Jupiter there, it's just enlarged. And the 12th house is it's Pisces house, so it can be. I'm not saying the king had an addiction, but yeah, I mean, just anything went, anything went. Um, yeah, in that kingdom. So I think that's about it for the king, King Louis the 14th. He was called Louis the Great, or the Sun King, as his mother deemed him. So fixed, he has the moon in Venus in Leo and Mars in Sagittarius. Mars in Sagittarius. Yeah, that didn't look fixed to me. It's mutable. Mars in Sagittarius is mutable, and Leo is fixed. Um, but that was fire. Those were his fire elements. Air, he has Uranus in Libra, his friendships. Everybody was his friend. So he thought until there was a massive revolt. Um, Saturn and Pluto also are in air. So he has some dominant outer planets for air. Earth is the most prominent in the king's chart. He has the North Node in Capricorn, Chiron in Taurus, and the Sun, Mercury, and the MC all in Virgo. So he's a true Virgo. True Virgo with Leo and Scorpio. That's a very domineering personality. Uh, and also he has Uranus is squaring Saturn, and Jupiter is also squaring Saturn. So that could be, the loss of his mother at an early age. Could also be this whole revolution, because it's in the third house of Aquarius, groups of people. Um, and Uranus is sudden, unexpected liberation, friends and acquaintances. So, anyway, I was looking at Uranus square Saturn. Um, it looks like it's a trine here, but it's actually square because it's 0 degrees. So it looks to me like the people revolting against the king, and that he, of course, was very, very surprised at it. I don't know. Um, so that was his Earth, Sun, Mercury, and the MC. I just threw another aspect in there. Sorry about the flow. And water, he's dominantly Earth. And water, he has Scorpio, powerful, powerful Scorpio. You don't mess with this king. You do not mess with this king. Um, Jupiter, Neptune. Neptune gave him a love of art and beauty, though, and music. He had the best musicians from anywhere, luxury, and Leo loves luxury as well, and so does Taurus. His seventh house Taurus, and then you look for his Venus, and his Venus again is in luxurious Leo. So there was it was like limitless for him, limitless, and he probably had a lot of fun. But his lavish spending and entertaining and whatever else he did. So yeah, so his water was Jupiter. It's Scorpio in the 12th house, that's Pisces water house, and Neptune, again, sitting right on his ascendant. And where Neptune is, it dissolves. It dissolves, sort of dissolves your personality, and with Scorpio, it kind of dissolved the joint assets in the end. But it's sitting right on his ascendant, so it may have clouded his judgment at times. It's possible. So that's his water. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this Virgo of the month. And if you do, please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you for listening.